Hello and welcome to Foodocracy for Her. I am Kalyan Karmakar, and today we've got guests who are joining us from Jaipur. So I'm in Mumbai, they're in Jaipur, and say hello to Ratika and Richa Ketan, also known as the Cauldron Sisters. So Foodocracy for Her is where I speak to women entrepreneurs in the Indian food and beverage industry because there's some fascinating work happening across the country and different sorts of work. And I think that is really inspiring for all of us, regardless of which gender we come from, which age group or which city. So I think my penultimate trip before we went into lockdown was to Jaipur, and then after that I went to Nashik. I don't know if there was anything in between, maybe Bangalore or something like that. But as it often happens in many of my trips, I end up making new friends. So in this trip to Jaipur, it was Ratika and Richa, and meeting them just before I took the flight back, and it was really lovely. And it was a hectic trip. I was there for a shoot, so and then the work had got over, and then we were sitting and we were just chatting and unwinding till I realized it's time to catch my flight. And they packed me with all sorts of interesting food. So there was sourdough bread, and there was mangori, right, the little thing, which is still supposed to give me the recipe. And then there were the pickles, pickle jars and all of that, and which I kept having for quite a while because I love pickles. I love savory stuff. I love Jaipur, and it was lovely to meet them. And then over the months, I got to know of the work which they've done in the past, and more importantly, what they're doing now. And so, welcome, Richa. Welcome, Ratika.
Thank you
And
so much for having us.
yes, so Cauldron Sisters, is that a Macbeth sort of thing?
Kind of.
So
So
tell us a bit
uh,
about it.
yeah,
Yes.
since we were kids, we were too much attracted by all these genies and bewitched and all those hocus pocus other kind of things, Sabrina and all.
We were too much into cartoonish things.
Yeah, we still are.
Yeah.
वो बात अलग है, like na cartoons have completely changed now. Tom and Jerry has
Marvel and all that.
yes.
Yes.
But yeah, so we are like two people, so it was all let's plan. We are too witchy, so cauldron system happened.
And you're both Jaipur girls. You've grown up in you've grown up in Jaipur. So Cauldron Sisters is 2015. So it's been what, 5 years now almost.
Yes,
Fifth anniversary is over.
yes, in November.
So when you started it, what was the plan? When you started Cauldron Sisters, what was the
There was
plan?
actually no plan.
It just happened.
It happened.
And
Okay, so before everyone knows who's who, so Richa's in black, Ratika's in white and blue. Because I won't be putting graphics later. So it's, I'm sure most people know you, but in any case,
So,
yes, yes.
so we didn't start with a plan. It just happened.
Ah,
We were too enterprising always, and like being Jaipur is still it's still a tiny place,
mm,
and coming from an Agarwal business family, so we have some kind of foundation. Like our parents were too liberal. We never felt any girl kind of thinking you cannot do this, you should not do this. But yes, there were little thing that do something that maintains your status also.
yes.
So job was, we don't have much of a job culture over here.
Hmm.
So we were enterprising, kuch karna hai, and all of a sudden Richa got her friend needed something. And there was,
and she was adamant that you people cook so much and you have good when it comes to flavors, you are good at it. So I want something new and I want you to do it. And she was completely adamant. I tried referring her new people, but
Yeah.
she was like, I want from you only. So
and
that
then that time we created jar cakes, which was not there in town that time. We
And
were the
5 years back, jar cakes, even in Mumbai, I think were not that prevalent.
So
Cake
we made
jars.
jar cakes and we were like, taste hai, we know how to cook, we know how to manage. So we made 100 jar cakes in 3 hours. So that was like, okay,
Wow.
let's roll. And my kid was 1.5 years that time. And luckily he was a very quiet kid. So always he used to sit on the table and he used to observe kya ho raha hai, kya ban raha hai. Never a troublesome kid when it comes to cooking. So then, so first the order went out and then the name was planned, the logos were planned. So, reverse thing. काम पहले चालू हुआ, plannings बाद में हुई. That
I
kind
think sometimes that's the best way to start. Even like when I started Finally Chalk, my blog 13 years back, nothing was planned. It was just meant to be a diary. It was just meant to be a creative outlet. At that time, I was working in service and market research, so I needed some time off. So I just kept writing. So none of this was planned. I think that sometimes it's,
of.
what happens in the cold run, we never know from
Never.
outside.
even now that
Yes.
we don't really know where we are going.
Yeah.
And something happens,
taking as it
yeah,
comes.
as it comes.
So, when did your interest in food, was it always from childhood?
We are Agrawals, Marwadis, typical Marwadis. So हमारे लिए तो guest को welcome करने का एक ही तरीका है, and that's the food. So every year I remember we were a big joint family. So we had a cook in the house. It was a very boring and typical sir. Maharaj, very
Maharaj.
tasty. So the food was very typical Indian kind of, but yeah, few of my buas are married. We belong to Burma basically. My father was 1 year old when they left Burma. So
Okay.
and then many of my buas got married into Burmese families and all. So Burmese food was in our family for years. Like yeah, dal chawal regularly
We
banta tha.
always say that houseways are kadi chawal.
Houseways are
Yeah,
conditioned.
you're the second person. Sorry, I must interact with you. There was a friend of mine, Virat Juthani, from my Nielsen market research days. So then he went to Burma to work in market research 5, 6 years back when it was opening. And then he came back once and we were having coffee. So he said that Khawswe, exactly the same thing. He said dal chawal jaisa hai.
बिल्कुल
Exactly same words.
इतना ही
Wow.
frequently घर में बनता था. And the way our houseway was is completely different from what they are serving the Thai kind of version nowadays.
Yes,
So
yes.
my dadaji was also very open to मतलब onion garlic wala कोई issue. Our family has been very liberal as compared to the other Marwadis. Not at all orthodox. खाने में there were no biases कि onion garlic नहीं बनेगा या ये.
Imagine, my dadaji, he used to love roasty. It was his fave.
ये बहुत time हो गया. You haven't made potato roasty for me. So it was
Oh, roasty, the Swiss roasty. Yes.
Had a flavor for everything. Anything that we used to cook was his favorite thing. And I happen to be eldest in my generation, all the siblings.
Yeah. Okay, like I am.
So and like I was allowed to study whatever I want. बस एक चीज थी कि जो एक typical होता था जयपुर में, that once you've given your 10th का exam, so you have a 3 months का break. So वो 3 months की break में you have to do one cookery class. That was Anish. Everyone, all Agarwal families in Jaipur used to go there. So क्योंकि घर में cook था तो I was never into kitchen. I was only survive. मतलब मैं सिर्फ मैगी, कॉफी ये चीजें बना सकते थे और कुछ नहीं. Going to cookery classes gave me a confidence in how things can be created. So
and I was a guinea pig
completely. And he was always a baby of the house. कि कभी मतलब even when I think I have been cooking since I was 15, 16. I've been cooking full till then, since then. And she was 21 and she was making chai.
I started cooking since she got married and the kitchen was vacant.
Papa was like, just go and see, हाथ नहीं चला ले वो अपना. मैं कहा, she's 21, हाथ नहीं चलाएगी. So every year we know that when Fufajis are coming, तो कुछ exotic खाना, menu planning. And Diwali के next day, when people come to meet, तो उस दिन we used to make a special mocktail and a snack. उस एक दिन की तैयारी पूरे साल चलती थी कि this year I think we should make this snack on Diwali. This year we should make this snack. So ऐसे करते
give me an example of the sort of snacks.
Every time, like Blue Pepsi, if you remember, there was no Blue Carasso anywhere in the town. Blue Pepsi came later, and it was serving Blue Carassos like when nobody was having in town.
I think in early 2000s,
90s, 90s. So we were always a step ahead. Because we have relatives in Delhi and Mumbai and Kathmandu, so we used to travel there a lot. So anything that, and luckily we are blessed कि अगर हम कोई चीज taste करते हैं, then we can replicate that completely without the recipe.
Wow.
So it's just कुछ खाया, कुछ try किया, फिर यहाँ के बना लिया. Because we didn't have any Italian, Mexican. We still don't have excellent Mexican in Jaipur. When you talk about a particular cuisine. We have multi cuisines in Jaipur.
That's really funny because in Mumbai, when I came in the late 90s, Mexican was very popular, and especially in this Girgaon stretch with Cream Center and all of this, because the vegetarians would go there and have the tacos and the nachos and the tomato salsa. So I've grown up in Kolkata. I was not born there, but I grew up in Kolkata till I moved to Mumbai. And Kolkata, of course, has a very strong Marwari culture. And in a way, what both of you say is a reflection of what I've seen, because when one grew up in the mid 80s and late 80s, and the Marwaris were known as primarily traders, and that's the sort of things which they associations which were there. And then before I moved out, which was in the mid to late 1990s, a lot of Marwaris from my generation, or if I can say our generation, a lot of them even moved into service. Like some of the top doctors in Calcutta were Marwaris, architects, engineers. They went abroad and studied. And then, okay, so there might be certain things which are part of religion, which is maybe, say, vegetarianism and so on. But within them, the current generation of Marwaris are very open to experiment with international cuisines. And the Marwari weddings would always have like counters from, different
My
countries. And
wedding was a big thing in my family because I was the eldest and I got married at 28, which was very late as per Marwadi culture. So it was a big thing in my family, and food has to be very specific. So like I got married 11 years back. So आज के time पे nobody, like everybody is into either hotels or caterers. But
yes,
हमारे यहाँ एक हलवाई culture है. We hire a halwai and we get everything made in front of us. Raw material भी हम लोग खुद purchase करते हैं so that it's the best.
So that the quality is
Quality is
maintained.
maintained. So my dad completely maintained मतलब सब कुछ
Even
everything was
starting
in-house.
from the exotic fruits till the spices, everything he arranged. And he was like कि कहीं से कोई चीज कंजूसी मत करना.
And he was like completely standing on head कि ये सही बन रहा है. Like he was doing all the rituals also, and he was taking care that food is completely A1. And yeah, till late I get compliments about the food in my wedding. So weddings, yeah, a big thing in Marwadi culture.
yeah. Maybe if you have like a 15th anniversary feast or something, then we can go and try
I
that.
don't think I have that kind of patience that I can do.
So I must say this little tidbit that in one of our recent last trips to Kolkata, when we stayed at the Oberoi Grand, they said they serve some very good mishti, mitai. So I asked them, how come? Do you guys get it from outside or something? So they said they actually in the Oberoi Grand Calcutta, they have 2-3 halwais who specialize in Indian sweets because a lot of Marwari weddings happen at the Oberoi Grand. So like they have to do the sweets for that, and yeah, so it has to be that standard.
We have a famous mithai in Jaipur that's called Mishri Mawa. So it's basically a kind
Mishri
of
Mawa. I've
yes.
not had that.
So in our weddings, we have a live counter where they're making it,
Yes.
serving you fresh Mishri Mawa.
Oh, so
Yes.
how describe it a bit to me, because when one thinks of Jaipur sweets, it's more that what is it? The Gevar.
Yevar.
That's what one associates, and the lassis. But I've not heard of the Mishti Mawa. Mawa. What is
But
that?
as a seasonal thing, it's not associated to festivals only, like Tej and Gangor. But Mishri Mawa is
All time thing.
Yeah,
And
and it's a royal.
now it's the
dish.
winter time. So all the weddings will definitely have a live counter where they have a chota sagi cauldron kind of thing, where they're making and serving you fresh Mishri Mawa, and it's out of this world. So when my cousin was getting married in Kathmandu, so they hired a Mishri Mawa guy from Jaipur and we took him along with to Kathmandu. वहाँ पर उसने live counter बनाए खिलाए, and they were like all food on one side and Mishri Mawa on one side. Like they had all live teppanyaki counters and all, but the entire crowd was gaga over the Jaipur ka
Because
Mishri Mawa.
Marwadi clan, crazy about Mishri Mawa.
In
Completely.
fact, I must say that Marwadis love Kathmandu, because I think that before I moved into Mumbai, which was maybe 98, 99, one of my last market research projects in Calcutta was in Kathmandu. So I took my mom and brother along, and the idea was to spend some time there and then Pokhara, because then I was moving off to Bombay. And then we were finding it very hard to get, hotels and tickets, and almost had to postpone the trip because it was just during Diwali. So apparently all the Marwaris from Calcutta were going to Kathmandu to gamble during Diwali.
Yeah,
So
completely. Kathmandu is, I feel it belongs more to the Agarwal families
Yeah.
than to the Nepalis. Because the business clan is completely Agarwals over there, Marwadis. And mainly like Kolkata culture is over there too.
but
They are
Agarwals are different communities, right? Because when I moved to Mumbai, I used to stay in a PG, a Punjabi Hindu run. So there were Agarwals as well.
okay.
So, no, so there are also Agarwals who are probably UPites and Gujarati. No, not Gujaratis, but
We have
but
Punjabi Agarwals, and also the
Yeah,
culture
Punjabi
is influenced by the state as such. Like Calcutta, these are completely different. They are little that what should I say? Riti Rivaj jo hote hain, thode se
Little more orthodox,
Yeah.
you can say, or
the
more
Marwadis.
yeah, it
Yeah,
depends
so-
on the state.
region that
yeah
you're in.
region.
I've also seen this trend across the world, that when people migrate from different countries to other countries, they tend to be a bit more orthodox because they remember their homeland the way it was when they left. So even Indians, when they sort of move to the US or UK or Australia, will probably be
They
more
are
orthodox than the Indians
following
today, because they might remember India as it was in 1960, which is different from today, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, now, since we're talking about traditions and all of that, I want the two of you, to tell people a bit about your home city, especially Jaipur, and I'll tell you why. Because as an outsider, I mean, Jaipur is a tourist city. I think many people would have gone there. And the associations you have with Jaipur, of course, is the Hawa Mahal, and then the market around there, and the Pink City. As a food lover, you'll think of the lassi, the dal bati churma, and of course, if you're a meat lover, then the lal mas and the jangli mas, and also the kanji, which is something which I just discovered in one of my last trips, where I was there at near the fort, and I saw these people having this sort of thing in a stand over there, including there was one young couple. So I went and asked them, what is it, kanji? And I've never seen it, so I took it. There was this little malpua shaped thing, not like this thing, and the water had little specks,
It's a
and
probiotic.
and it was such a wonderful kick
Yes.
to it, and that's mustard, right?
Yes, mustard seeds.
So my trips to Jaipur at that time used to be as a market researcher, and I used to do these focus groups. And in the beginning, you start off by doing what you call a warm up. So you talk to people sitting around you in the table and about other things, so that they get comfortable. And then you talk about the topic on hand, like what car are they buying, or what detergent do they use or stuff. So for warm up, I would always ask people, what do people eat, where do they go, and so on. And what the people were telling me, say the young folks or stuff like that, is that they would say that they hang out at coffee shops, or they would go to, I don't know whether it was Blues Center, Bombay Blues, for the pasta. Then there was this place which people are popular for its grills and so on. So the impression which you have outside when you think of a city like Jaipur is everyone's having only dal bati churma and things like that. But tell us a bit about what Jaipur is like today. Is that, I'm guessing that's not how Jaipur is, right?
No,
It's
that's
not just about the Maharajas and Maharanis, and
That's
you don't
the
go around in camelbacks.
That's the kind of Jaipur you're talking is for outsiders. How
Hmm.
they look at Jaipur. So
Tell us the
when
insider view. Tell us the chatpata baat. Give us some gossip. What's happening in
oh,
Jaipur? What's going on?
so Jaipur is just discovering the coffee shop culture
completely.
and co-working culture right now, and people are going crazy after now all these things. It's about outing करें coffee shop में चलते हैं.
Coffee shops are like a big hit यहाँ पे.
I remember on your Instagram page, Cauldron Sister, earlier in the lockdown, you'd done a live with a gentleman who was a barista,
Yeah.
and he was doing some really fancy
He
coffee
is
stuff.
really good with his coffee. He recently started a coffee van.
Hmm.
A van completely dedicated to coffees and all kind of designer coffees, nothing signature coffees, nothing like a routine coffee shop. But yeah, it's going very well.
And he roasts his own beans and he
Who's this? What is his name? Or
surveys.
Sarvesh? Yes.
Yeah.
So he hasn't launched a very huge brand right now. He's just a startup. But with the passion that he explains everything is like, wow, we've
Yeah,
written
I saw that. Yes.
And I have had my best cappuccino of my life at his place, and it was amazing. But I can still remember the creaminess and the nutty flavor of that coffee.
because majorly it's about the passion that he is put. Just Mazay se he was explaining everything. We enjoyed learning about his coffees and everything. So Jaipur is more about a coffee place or tandoori chai. Tandoori chai is another fad over here completely. So tandoori chai or coffee. There's a lane just near my place. There we have two or three of the best coffee shops of Jaipur and two famous chai wala. So that entire lane is converting into food gully of Jaipur kind of thing. Famous burger wala, famous bakeries coming over, famous coffee shops. So it's like Jaipur mein, here, what we've noticed is specialty restaurants didn't work out well.
Okay.
Here we have more of family culture. We don't have a lot of corporates over here. So we have कि कहीं भी बाहर जाएंगे, so we'll have 60 to 6, all kind of age group along. So यहाँ it's like multi-cuisine restaurant, which really works. You might have all sushis are a big hit over here. Seafood we don't have much.
Jaipur is a lot influenced by Delhi. So whatever trend is going on in Delhi, after a year or so, it will come to Jaipur.
Yeah.
And Delhiites even drive down to Jaipur during the lockdown. I've seen people there.
Delhiites only. The
Yes, yes.
good hotels over here are completely weekends are sold out because of
Even
deliveries.
I think once the initial lockdown was open, it was little freedom from all that curfew and everything. Hotels were completely booked.
Yeah, Delhi. We also visited Rajviras
Yeah.
last month, and we saw a lot of
Yeah,
Delhi.
you took a family vacation there. I remember
Yes,
seeing
because my
that, yes.
birthday, so we made it a point to make it special, and yes, that was much required. And we haven't
Uh,
still left home, so that was like a peaceful thing.
yeah, it's the same for us because my wife Kanas and I haven't stepped out at all except for essentials.
Same here, same.
And then a few days back, last weekend, we went to the ITC Maratha in
Ah,
Mumbai, so we didn't have to travel and took a staycation. And those
yeah.
2 days were so so refreshing. Now, tell me a bit about going back to Cauldron Sisters and your work. Like when I see a lot of work which you're doing, it's not necessarily in the traditional area. You're doing sourdough breads, you're doing cake in jars, you're doing dips, and all of that. So tell me a bit of thought process between the work which you're doing and how it's being received.
So in food industry, we feel that you can't just come up with something new which no one has done any, like that. So we prefer that let's come up with a new trend in Jaipur. Let's educate people. Like we were the first ones to start sardo in Jaipur or combo.
Yes. And
So
you'd give me a sourdough. It was very nice. I remember coming back to Mumbai and having it for breakfast the next day.
We used to follow every morning. You used to have a sourdough with your eggs and all. Nothing better than that.
So we believe that we need to educate people that what exactly is this and how it can benefit you, and then people follow.
So we've always been like more innovative. See, people will follow, they'll get inspired, they'll copy you also. And so that's
Yes.
normal. That's normal. So whatever we always tried, we have a niche clientele. So we always used to create something new. एक चीज बनाओ हो गया next आगे done next.
We don't really love to dwell on कि ना अच्छा इसको छुपा लो, लोग copy नहीं करें या
We
फिर इसको
never gave that.
we never did that.
I like that because I know sometimes people feel very hurt about that when they do something and they've copied it. But at the end of it, like if you've done a sourdough, I mean, you're not the first people in the world to do a sourdough, and there will be people doing sourdough. I think it's to do how wonderfully you can make your sourdough, and then create your space.
And we all
So
have our clientele. It's nothing like they can. Nobody can take away what's meant to be yours. So we always work on that funda. But yes,
so
overall we try to create new dishes, new things, which keep on people coming back to us.
yeah. Um, uh, So you're telling me about different innovations which you've done. So talk me through one or two of them that are because I'm trying to understand that how do you decide that this is something which you want to work upon? So how do you find out about it? How do you get trained in making it? And then so why do you select that? Okay, let's try this and not that. So first of all, where do you get to know about new things?
So it's all about like meeting new people or following few people or hearing about new things. Like just when we started our work, so we introduced Egyptian kushri in our meal menu.
What
And
is that? Sorry, I'm not familiar with it.
okay, Egyptian kushri is a kind of a biryani, what they make.
Ah, okay, okay,
Koshri,
okay.
they call it koshri or kushri, anything like that.
Okay, okay,
So
okay.
by just accidentally, I was my husband was surfing channels, and he's a big time foodie also. So we are all always inclined over food. When I was expecting for 9 months, I was on bed rest, and we have been watching only travel and living or food channel. पूरे दिन हम सिर्फ रेसिपीज ही देखते थे क्या करने के लिए पता नहीं because we
And I
never
used to take her with me कि चलो कुछ ना street food खा के आते हैं. We used to roam around this area
finding something apart from kachori samosas. It's rare to find.
So kushri is basically a combo of rice, pasta, dal, and tomato sauce and everything.
So I
Wow.
happened to stop on Vicky Ratnani was cooking that koshri, and
Okay.
I am a little less experimental, but that dish looked appealing. So I made that the other day, and everybody in the family they loved it. Especially like my parents, whom we thought they will not really appreciate it, and my dad-in-law doesn't like much of Oriental or something different cuisine,
Yeah.
but everybody just loved it. So then it came on the menu. In Jaipur, I think they enjoy it.
Yeah.
We've been serving
because it's more of an Indian flavor.
It's kind of a
Yeah,
biryani.
because when you look at like Arabian and Egyptian food, like we've gone to Turkey and Dubai where we've had Arabic food. I mean, sometimes the food might look different in Turkey sometimes, but when you put it in your mouth, it sounds so familiar because there'll be clove, there'll be cardamom, there'll be cinnamon,
Yeah.
there's the use of dahi, and a lot of that has actually come here as well. So the taste is very familiar. So I feel that there's far more potential in Lebanese, Arabian food being used here than Mexican and all that, because it's very close to our palate. And there's so much in vegetarian as well over there,
Yeah.
in this. So then, how do you communicate to people that you've got this dish and get them to try it? So how does the marketing happen?
So earlier when we just started, then luckily we were good with social media handling. We have never hired a single fellow for any of our work, be it social media, be it publicity, anything. We've never hired anyone. It's just two of us who've been there since the
Hmm.
beginning. So that saves on the overheads also, and we could survive the lockdown.
Yes.
So earlier, what we were doing was whenever we used to create something new, we used to send out sample boxes to either to few of our loyal clients or some family members or few influential people whom we thought that they might spread out a word. That time, Instagram was not very happening in Jaipur, and Facebook was our first thing was our Facebook page when we started.
Hmm.
So yes, we used to promote pages over there. Posts over there. People used to, and we were having cookery classes that time.
You were teaching
Yeah, we used to
Yes.
teach.
We
through
started.
video?
No,
Through
no, no.
video.
Hands-on classes in our kitchen.
Okay. So not on Facebook. You would call people. People would come to your
Call
kitchen.
Yeah.
people. We
Okay.
would take
Okay.
classes and we would.
So people like you had once gone to do a cookery class to train you for marriage. So would your audience be like that only?
Not really, but because my classes are more of a demo, sitting like an nincompoop and listening,
Snoozing.
snoozing and just trying to grasp what that lady is saying. Our classes are very interactive because firstly it was like just married females or about to get married females. We had a special pre-bridal package also,
Where we show how to boil water.
how to boil water for rice and how to.
So my mother didn't know all that, huh? Because my mother was a professor, and my grandparents had insisted she focus on studies and not in the kitchen. And she was the eldest daughter. So then she got married to my father, and my father was a doctor in England. And my father had taught himself to cook because as a student he had to survive. And so when my mom went to England and Canterbury, where I was born, so one day he told her that you make khichdi, and he'd gone to the hospital to work. Then the way he told me the story, and he passed away when I was 9, so I still remember it from then. That he said that I came home and I saw that in the water the dal grains and the rice grains were all sort of popping and dancing, and nothing's really happening. So then he figured out that my mom doesn't know how to make it, so he shut it, and then they went to the hospital canteen to eat, and then he came back and he taught her how to cook. So yeah, I mean, not always people know how to boil water.
Yep. So like we used to have very weird kind of questions. कि चावल जो डालना है बिरयानी में उसे बॉईल करके डालना है कच्चा डालना है. Yeah,
Well, it's not a weird question because if you look at the Hyderabadi sort of biryani, then the rice gets boiled with the masala and the
right,
Yeah.
meat. While in the Lucknowi Calcutta sort of thing, which is actually more a pulao, they tell me the rice is cooked separately, masala and then put together. Maybe not that weird.
and with some people because ठीक है बच्चे भी आते थे बड़े भी आते थे, there were like 60 plus ladies also coming, and all used to be very hands-on classes, and we used to keep it very chirpy kind of thing, no, nothing very formal, like people should not get bored. Yeah, we are too strict,
Yes.
being snobbish, so nothing like it. Hasi mazak
So were the other classes more like that? The traditional classes were that more like that? Like people giving lectures?
nobody was doing hands-on classes that time,
So
and
I'm saying the others were more like lectures.
yeah,
Yes.
demos only, and very
So
routine kinds, very ठंडा class. आप गए हैं, मैडम बोल रही हैं, आप देख रहे हैं types, and ours
so
were like
what made you do classes like the sort of classes you were doing?
tell
What
you
inspired you?
nothing inspired us. It was just the need of the hour. Our first class, only two girls came up, and we were like, "What will we do with these two? So let's make it hands-on. Let them involve in the kitchen." So they
And we were quite, frankly, I was feeling quite lazy. I didn't want to यार कौन बनाएगा अभी. So
imagine first class you are feeling lazy. So it
But
all
she's the baby of the family, right?
completely
Richa's the baby. So
Dimki of the
he's
house.
allowed the Nimki of the house, yes.
So I'm telling you, everything in our life just happened.
So I like that. So from what you're saying is that your plan was to do the traditional class where you're going to show everyone,
We were like,
but there were just two clients, so two students, So
It
you
was
can't really, and that's how it started.
yes.
Wow. And then
And
you decided to continue like that.
then one more thing happened.
How about?
So when we were cooking, first class, nothing was planned. We've never done it before. So loads of portions were prepared
Yeah.
because everybody was making. So what we did was you taste also, and we'll pack a doggy bag also for you to take home and get your mother to taste it. So mothers were super happy कि पैसा वसूल, क्लास भी हो गई, बच्ची अपने हाथों से बना के लाई और घर भी लेकर आई. So that was
So
our
that
class.
became a trend for us. And we were like, we started endorsing our classes like, it's a hands-on class, you'll be cooking. And you'll take away also.
You'll take what you cook. Because initially the family members were enjoying what we were cooking. They were also bugged up. तो ये था कि खत्म करो खाना, हटाओ घर से, बिल्कुल पैक कर दो, घर के लिए अलग खाना और क्लासेस का अलग.
And that's just a great idea that you came upon that by yourself, by like thinking of it practically. So I have attended a few cooking classes in Mumbai, and then I have conducted a few for foreign folks and all that. So I take them to market, and they come home, and I've seen every time what the trend has been. Even what I have attended, like there was mainly at Pooja Dhingra's studio, the chocolate making by her, bread making by someone else. Don't remember the name right now, but she does the bread, Christina. So what they do is that, and those are all hands-on classes. So you all make your stuff, and then you pack it and you take home. So like breads and this that. So that's just they do an interesting thing in the IHM Dadar Hotel Management School. Okay, they have a shop in the evening. So whatever is made during the day by the in the classes and all that, in the evening is sold over there. So a lot of the local people and all that go there and buy it. I think it's a bit of our Indian mentality of not wasting things, right?
Exactly. The wastage thing is completely. Sometimes I was feeling कि जो waste ना करने वाली problem है, that really holds me back from lot of photography or something. Waste
Yes.
होना चाहिए, so we don't keep lot of stuff around, just for the picture thing.
Do you regret that?
Sometimes yes, but then end of the day, I'm happy that we didn't waste food over something like that.
So do you feel that that is more important, going to sleep happy rather than not getting the picture perfect Instagram thing?
We've shot few recipe videos for few people, and it was heartbreaking over there because camera ke samne they are so much lovey-dovey with the food, and the moment it's cut, feko pusala, feko. So I was like shocked. Why feko? Give it to some needy. Why feko?
Yeah. Or let the team eat or whatever. Yeah.
At least respect food.
Yes. I think that's so important, that respecting food, respecting people, these are the values which we were taught when we were growing up, right?
Yeah.
Like don't waste, respect food. Okay, so now coming back to how you market your food. So tell me a bit about that. How can the two of you, without having a social media, because a lot of people when they start off, they feel that maybe we should have a social media agency and all that, and there are merits there. But if you don't want to spend on that, then how do you sort of create a brand? How do you create awareness?
For a zero investment thing. We did not invest a single penny in our work initially. So it was like, and everything was just happening. In November, we started our work. In January, there was an exhibition happening. There are a lot of lifestyle exhibitions happening. So tomorrow morning is the exhibition. And I think around this time, a day before, we plan to be a part of it. So whatever we had saved, tiny bit of amount, we paid for that. And we went for that exhibition next day.
And it was just, I think, the tasting only.
No. That also came as per situation.
Yeah.
We had to be very.
So we had kept that main kham over there, which is a Thai salad.
Okay.
So it's a lettuce leaf with some kind of sauce and chopped lemon chili, and all these things.
It's mind blowing. It's beautiful dish. So we thought कि तो hot seller रहेगा, but nobody was buying from us. And initially, 1 or 2 hours, nobody was buying. So then we improvised.
We thought that
free
okay,
samples.
Let's give it a tasting only.
Because that time we wanted people to come and talk to us. So free, we were giving out free samples and pulling them to talk to us. So then they were talking, then we were explaining about our classes, about our work, and then we used to take their numbers for further info. So like that, we created a database. We got few numbers. So then we made some WhatsApp groups and we approached everyone. We were telling them about our classes. Then I think after 2-3 months, we did one more exhibition, which was a super hit. So that time also, that time we were had some stuff for selling also, some for
So till
tasting.
that time, we had educated ourselves कि ठीक है थोड़े dips होने चाहिए, and we started making breads and all
Designer
these
bread.
things.
That time nobody was doing
Yeah.
babkas, and now it's called babka. That time it was a pesto bread. Nutella bread, pesto bread.
So we had those kind of display, and again we did free tasting, and we used to book orders.
That you place orders, and tomorrow you can taste whatever you want, and you can place your orders if you feel like, and pay right now, and tomorrow
And
we'll
because
send.
of free tasting, उस दिन कोई fast था किसी का, मतलब community thing, and so many people forgot that उनका fast है, and they were like okay okay we want to try, and खाने के बाद में they were like shit it was my
हमारा तो
fast.
So that's like how we got connected to people, and we got a database. And we didn't do any exhibition after that. We never did anything, because we have a thing that we never sell food. People buy from us, we never sell food. So that's the thing.
So what you're saying is that you don't go out and pitch that. Okay. So even now, like when you're, you get your clients and all that, they reach out to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you do like large scale orders and caterings, or are they like
Everything.
small?
Everything. Now
So
I'll
I
move out
think
for 5 minutes.
No worries. Yes.
so we continue.
We can continue. Yeah.
So I think the biggest catering or home delivery thing that we did was for 300 people. Wedding giveaways jo hote hain, like post wedding you give
Yes,
them
yes.
a sweet box or something. So there was this wedding, and both the parties were coming from Delhi, and it was a destination wedding in Jaipur. So they wanted a nice fancy box with some regional Rajasthani specialty food and something fancy also. So we made 13 items for them
Wow.
and 300 boxes. So it was like poha and kachori, samosa with patties and 4 different kind of sweets, chutneys. So it was such an exciting order because we had to deliver it at 9 in the morning, and the entire family was so buzzed up कि अच्छा ये करना है वो करना है. Even my nephew, who was I think 4 or 5 year old, was giving his inputs कि सब में ketchup के pouches डालने हैं. And he was like,
Well, ketchup is important, and especially when you're 4.5 years old.
yeah,
You know what?
अरे इसमें नहीं डाला उसमें नहीं डाला, and he got so excited with it.
But what I always find a bit astounding when I speak with folks like you is that it's not that necessarily you have a training in culinary background. You've not been to culinary school. You've not worked in hotels. You've not worked in restaurants. So how do you do large scale orders, or in terms of the consistency of taste, packaging, sizing of that? How does that come about? Because it's easy to say cook at home or maybe send something to one's neighbors. But when you're doing something professionally and people are investing in you, how do you go about it then?
So I think the basics were from family only. Like we were around 15 to 18 people at home, living in
Okay.
same house, joint family. And when our buas all used to come, so imagine 25 to 30 people staying together. And so like she got used to cooking for entire family, and I followed. And most of the things we have learned as we started working. So पहले it was all अंदाजा कि okay ना इतना लोगों के लिए इतना चल जाएगा, and later on when we started working we started measuring everything, and per person like 100 grams rice is enough for per person, so you can multiply. So that's how we moved on.
And it must have been a bit difficult in the beginning to sort of break through the Jaipur market, because people are not used to this. They're more used to a more traditional format. So what do you think worked for you in terms of cracking the market?
I think our innovation worked most for us. Like we used to come up with something really different. Even now, we are mostly known for our fusion food. Yeah, फिर ना coming up with something new. Like recently, we launched entire new Oriental menu with the Szechuan cuisine and somewhat Korean and everything. So people went quite bonkers about it. Plus, we came up with kunafa. No one is serving kunafa in Jaipur. So
yeah, which is the Arabic crusty sweet. I must say, so when I went to Dubai last time, I'd gone on a food walk with this group called Frying Pan Tours, run by two sisters, and Old Dubai. And it happened to me my birthday, or maybe the day before my birthday. So we went to the sweet shop, and where they were making the kanafa. And like it's a flaky, large. It's almost like a khaja in a way, but round and this thing. So they made the whole thing in front of us. And I think we also had to do some activities or maybe pour some sugar, whatever. And then they got it to the table. And then the girls gave me the knife and said, "You cut it." So I said, "Okay." And then they started singing. So they had actually planned it that way. So I actually cut a kanafa cake on my birthday. Yes.
Like, we haven't traveled much. I've never tasted kunafa. I've been to Dubai twice and I've never tasted kunafa over there. So it was
Uh,
kind of experiment for us.
so
And
how do you learn about these new dishes, like and especially things like Korean, Thai, which is often so non-vegetarian dominant. So where do you learn about it, and how do you adapt it to your needs?
so, like, most of our knowledge comes from all the traveling shows which we watch, or we love to read books on food and everything. So we read about all these things, and then converting a non-vegetarian dish into a vegetarian is quite a hassle. So
Yes.
we do lots and lots of experiments, and then we send out this food to people who have traveled a lot, and we ask for them for the suggestion that is it close to the original one or not. So
I found that very interesting because when I do sessions with home chefs, in terms of how to set up their business and so on. Maybe because I come from that background, but I tell them that market research is very important, and I think that what you've done is lovely because, like, say you might not have traveled and experienced that dish, but you can give it to people who've tried it, and then. So, have there been times when you have to course correct and change something which you have made, and then people tell you that no, this is not working out? While has that happened ever?
so it happened with kunafa only. Like, we don't get that kind of cheese that they use in Dubai in
Hmm.
Jaipur. So we made something close to it, but still we got the review that it is a little bit chewy and utna melting nahi hai jitna kunafa mein.
Yes.
So we had to work on it, and we did not lose hope till we achieved it. So it's not exactly like the original one, but close to what you get over there.
So tell me, how has Cauldron Sisters advanced over the last 5 years? Like, how is the has the focus shifted, or what is the like? In the beginning you're doing classes, then it became catering and cooking as well. So how has this focus shifted over the years, or has it shifted at all?
I think we were blessed that we got these opportunities, and it shifted our focus. Like, earlier, we had no plans to start this business, but a friend came to me and she was like, "Yeah, I want you to do." So that's how we started, and
The
then
cake jars, the cake
yeah,
jars.
yeah. And then a couple of restaurants approached us that I keep seeing your post on Facebook and Instagram. So I want you to curate our menu. So that's how we moved on to restaurant consultancy.
How was that experience? How was that experience of a home chef consulting with restaurants? Because restaurant needs are different, and maybe the staff might not understand what you have in mind. So, what worked? I mean, how did you approach that assignment?
So it was very difficult because two females teaching professionals, like most of them were IHM chefs.
And men, most restaurant staff are men.
So
Yes.
now I feel कि उनका ego थोड़ा सा hurt हो गया था एक बार तो, and then they were like, you know, what can these girls teach us? I'm from IHM, and we didn't know how to make basic pasta.
Yes.
And that मतलब वहाँ पे जो head chef था, he had no idea how to run his team. He was busy
Hmm.
doing everything. So we had to guide him a little bit for that. And working in a professional kitchen is completely different from working in our home kitchen.
Yes.
So it was kind of exciting and a learning process for us. And most of the chefs in Jaipur are not exactly educated chefs, they are
Hmm.
halwais. So we have to move really slow and steady with them so that they don't feel कि अरे ये आके ना हमारा काम खराब कर रही है, and they think that ways. So so
No, I think
we
that's lovely. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go.
so like we try to understand them that what is their USP and how can we utilize it in teaching them the new menu.
Hmm. So I can relate to it from my years of work in corporate that when sometimes someone comes in as a boss who's maybe either younger than the team or comes in from outside, then there's a lot of resistance. So
Yeah.
it's really about how the new person So what is it that you try to keep in mind in terms of both you and Ratika, in terms of your attitude when you're dealing with such cases? How do you approach it? One is, you said, you slow and steady instead of imposing your, your way of doing it. Is there anything else that you keep in mind
Like
when
we
working with such?
believe in kind of attacking them when it comes to skills, but we make them feel really comfortable that okay, you are the king of the kitchen and it will work according to you only. So we
Hmm.
are here just to teach you the recipes and we are not here to overtake your job. So that's the insecurity that these people have most of them.
And have you seen cases where there's a turnaround? Like in the beginning, there people are very negative, this thing, but at the end of your assignment, like there's, I don't know, if not friends, then at least a lot of mutual respect, maybe affection.
Yeah,
That
it
does it.
happened, like we did consultancy at a place called DMB, Doodh Mishran Bhandar. So the owner had really clear point of view that maybe 5 years down the line, I want to open a fine dining restaurant. But
Hmm.
right now, I have what should I say, Haldiram kind of, a little smaller version, but Haldiram kind of setup. So again, halwais only. So they were like really, what should I say, arrogant
Hmm.
and little bit of rude.
Oh.
But
So why
later on,
did they hire you if you're so arrogant and rude? I mean, why
the
hire
staff
people?
was arrogant. But owner wanted to educate them with new recipes and with latest trends for Instagrammable stuff.
We are talking about
So the
me.
staff was arrogant. The owner
This
wanted you in.
The
Okay,
problem in
yes,
Jaipur is most of the restaurants over here, they don't have very qualified people. They have,
yes.
so at, if you're not well educated, you don't have open mindedness, and
So
you are.
that's what I was, in fact, we were talking about, Ratika, that so when you come to those situations and how do you achieve that turnaround, that Munna Bhai sort of thing where everyone hates Munna Behan in the case of Munni,
We
the two
have
Munnis, and
kids.
then how do suddenly the two Munnis become like well loved?
Exactly. So initially,
Bolo.
like
What is the secret sauce?
they welcome us like this. आ गई एक तो लेडीज महिलाएं आई हैं और परेशान करती क्लाइंट्स. So after when we try to seep in, not to attack them. So what we do is first we appreciate what they're already doing. So we appreciate nearly everything for no sense also sometimes. Wow, क्या चीज बनाई है.
Acha, so not always genuinely, but to
Sometimes,
you
yes. You have to take some.
diplomacy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So once they know कि हाँ, they are harmless, so then they are open to what we are teaching.
and matlab, at that hotel restaurant, they started coming up with their own unique recipes. That madam, I've made this. Try it. It's new.
Imagine they served us a vada pav, which was nothing but a vada pav completely. It was a real fusion. So in Jaipur, we have very famous thing called mirchi vada.
Yes, 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 yes.
मिर्ची बड़ा का मसाला लिया और
Uh,
उसके ऊपर जो मिर्ची बड़ा, if you notice, मिर्ची बड़ा has at least 4-5 mm का बेसन coating.
yes,
हाँ,
very thick. I had it at Rawat's and all
yeah.
that. So you're very,
क्या
very
किया, मिर्ची बड़े का आलू लिया और उसकी मोटी सारी गोल उसका बॉल बड़ा बना लिया. Then they took a पाव, और पाव के अंदर, because we are Rajasthani, we cannot eat with लहसुन का चटनी, लहसुन की चटनी, इमली की चटनी, सौंठ और जो कुछ भी लगा सब कुछ लगा दिया. But it was weirdly tasting amazing.
So
So
it was
in fact, I was asking, yeah, what are you saying, Richa?
it was a mix of dabeli plus
जोधपुर कल्चर.
yeah, matlab bhujia bhi and anar bhi and everything.
So I must say that, when I've had the Pyaz Kachori at Rawat and later where Rajputana also when I was staying, then they give you the kachori and Rawat mein, I don't know if they even give you any chutneys. ITC they give you on the side. So if you want to enjoy the kachori, and that's, but in my last two trips when I went to these street food guys near the Hawa Mahal and we had Pyaz Kachoris, so they made it like a chart. They were putting green chutney, red chutney, this, that. So it was no longer about the Pyaz Kachori, but I guess people like that.
Everybody has their own thing. Like once we were just going somewhere and we spotted something called sprouts kachori. And I was like, ये क्या चीज है जो हमें पता भी नहीं जयपुर में है, sprouts kachori. So I asked my driver कि चल लेकर आए, portion देखते हैं. And people were looming over it. So it was nothing. What he did was दाल की कचौरी लिया, उसके ऊपर कुछ sprout रख के serve कर दिया. So that it was not even sprout.
So I must tell you, in one of the top end restaurants in the city, I had once gone there. and they were doing some wild rice festival or whatever. Then they said that this is a Maharashtrian biryani where we are putting in a Maharashtrian millet. So I said, okay, very good. So what came was a plate of basmati pulao. So I said, where's the millet? He said, "Nee, within the pulao there are a few millets." So I said, but why not? Why isn't it not about the millet? Because they said, no, you'll find it difficult. So I'm saying if I'm having 90% basmati and 10% millet. So, okay, so, what I was talking about and what Richa and then you, Ratika, came and explained also is that when you're getting into these restaurant situations with people maybe who are not used to modern trends, or maybe even women working and all that, how you've dealt with them, that first putting them at ease, making them realize that their job is not a threat, that you are there to basically supplement them, handhold them. And then you're saying that there are turnarounds which happen also where people are skeptical, then towards the end, they start appreciating you.
Calls, madam, कब आओगे? बहुत दिन हो गए, madam. और कैसे बताएं कि मैडम का काम पूरा हो चुका है, मैडम वापस नहीं आ रही है.
Now the next question I want to ask you is that, see, as a business owner, you also deal with clients. So whether it's these consultancy clients or people who buy your products. So what is it that you feel over the 5 years you've learned that works when it comes to client handling? Because see, you're doing a lot of stuff which is new, whether it's your own products or teaching people. So there'll be a lot of apprehension simply because people have not tried it, right? So you can't blame them also. So how do you get people's confidence? How do you make them have faith in you?
Confidence is like, firstly, we've been there for 5 years and touch wood, we've been quite renowned in Jaipur. So what gives us immense pleasure is that even in lockdown, our work never stopped. Because people were trusting us with all their celebrations.
Yes.
Like, I was out because I had to send off a mom to be hampered. So, expecting mother and all.
Mom to be hamper.
Yes. We call them pamper hampers.
So you can't wait you can't make either the baby to delivery to wait on the food. Yes.
Funny foodies, how can you say no to them? So,
believe that people crave about Jaipur में street food के नाम पे सिर्फ कचौरी समोसा है, but during lockdown that was highest in demand.
Everybody was making kachori samosas in town.
So my friend Sheetal Kakkar, who's a Gujarati lady from Mumbai, home chef Sheetal's Cottage, maybe you guys follow each other also. So towards the beginning of the lockdown, one day she got over some pav bhaji and it was one of the best I've had in Mumbai, apart from one street place in Fort. And since then we've had it a few times after that also. And she said the same thing. She said that during the lockdown, what people were missing was street food. Yeah. And you don't make street food at home, right? So she had a lot of kachori, dhokla, chaat orders. So I think that was...
Here also, what we've noticed mostly, like we all crave कि हमारे पास समोसा कचौरी के अलावा कुछ नहीं मिलता, but everybody was making. Even we were making. Yeah. I made प्याज का कचौरी. We made dal ka kachori. Abhi matar ka kachori will get into.
I made my mom make samosas for me.
Samosas. So next time you have to try a lot of things. You haven't tried everything.
Yes, I need to.
Prem Prakash, it was a theater. So theater canteen में जो समोसा मिलता था, that was like.
Oh, like in Bombay theaters, you used to get the A1 samosa.
Okay.
But it was supplied by a shop called Guru Kripa in Chembur. So then later I went and had it, or Sion. So it's really lovely. Sindhi Punjabi
started in that theater only. But now all the famous caterers in Jaipur, they have a term called PP samosa, which is Prem Prakash samosa. Oh. Starters में हमारे वो samosas float होते हैं, and by that name only. So branding is behind that theater. That theater is no more. It's kind of turned into a multiplex, but the samosas. So there's another shop set up only to sell the Prem Prakash samosas.
So that's amazing. I've never heard of it. I have to try it. In fact, my wife and I, when we were dating, we had this ritual when we'd go to watch movies. Interval mein we'd get food, and then she had this thing. So then I also followed it. Okay, till the movie starts again, second half, she will not eat. So and we'd always get the samosa, and there would be 2 in a pack, A1 samosa, and it's hot because they kept it under the light, holding onto it. And she would eat only the crust. So there were 2 of them where I would have one the whole, and the other one she'd have the crust, and I'd have the aloo from that. But coming back to business,
I used to have crust. When she was young, to mirchi nahi khati thi, so I used to get my share of samosa. Then she used to eat all the crust, so I used to have her share of aloo too.
It's the same between my brother and me. So my brother was 8 years younger than me. So after dad passed away for a year, we were staying with our grandparents. So in the evening, they would get shingaras, samosas. And he was at that time maybe 2.5, 3 years old, so he couldn't eat jhal, spicy. So I would have my shingara, and then I'd take out the crust which he would eat, and I would have the aloo and the peanuts
Exactly.
Okay, so before it becomes a shingara or samosa chat, as entrepreneurs, what helps you sort of win trust? One is you said that you've been in the business for 5 years, but I mean it's not just age, right? There might be people who might be in it for 80 years, 90 years.
Right, right.
There's that. But what do you do which makes people trust you? What have you done in the 5 years?
It's
What are you
handled,
trying to do?
everything is handled from taking the orders to delivering it finally. Everything is managed by us. So they know कि इनसे ही बात करनी है, इन्हीं को पता है. And when we have some regular clients, we know their taste completely. तो उनको ये पता है कि हमने इनको बोल दिया तो इस टाइम पे keeping up to that reputation that if I've told you it will reach 5 o'clock, so 5 ka 5:30 is maximum. So it's over the time, building over the time.
And I think the most important thing is the quality. That
Quality.
we never mess with our quality, the kind of ingredients and produce that we use.
So have there been times when maybe you had to say no to an order because you felt that you can't deliver, maybe the
In
scale
the
or
morning,
you had
we
two, three
did
things at the same time?
in the morning, we did not take, we rarely say no, but in the morning we had to refuse to a new client because
Not because of me, I hope.
huh? No, no,
Not
no,
because of me, I hope.
no. I was unwell last yesterday. So today, and all of a sudden orders were coming, they were pouring in, so we had to say no because we knew that we won't be able to give our best.
Even during festivals, like we mostly advertise that pre-book your order, but in moment pe people have to come up with something. Ki I want in moment orders and
What we learned over the time is like initially we were doing a lot. We were like trying to help out every way. Festivals pay the delivery thing is completely messed up. So what
Yes.
used to happen, Diwali wale din, my husband and my sister, they are going and delivering stuff everywhere. So it was getting troublesome. So now we are also learning and we know ki in dino pe, there would be a kiosk. So a disclaimer is always there.
Yeah.
Either you pre-book or you don't book on festivals.
Yeah, because sometimes people also get very impatient, and especially if they're hungry as a customer and the families are together.
But the
It's like,
lucky thing is that we always take orders a day in advance. We never give you instant stuff. So anybody who wants food tomorrow can contact right now. If right now something would be asked, we might not be able to help.
I would love some piyaz kachoris tomorrow.
What's your
But wrong city. Okay, so it's been a fascinating chat, but before I end, this is one question I always ask people because I know that there are a lot of people seeking some symbol of hope or inspiration. So it's been maybe 9 months since the pandemic really hit us, and then the lockdown, and I'm sure you must have had plans which stopped or business which stopped. So how did you approach this situation, and how do you decide to progress? How do you take it on?
So what happened was when for last 2 years, like we started as home caterers and cookery classes. Then the cooking classes were shut down because we wanted to have more time for others to grow more. So then we were more into consultancy and the home house catering was like less. We were not taking much orders. We were not initiating any orders. So the moment this pandemic hit, we were back full-fledgedly to our catering.
So we went back to our roots basically.
And that way, then you didn't have free time to wonder कि क्या होगा, कब होगा.
We have been the full 9 months we've been busy. So what hope it gives us that if we can survive in such the toughest time that our mankind has ever seen. So I think we
Yes.
are on the right path. आगे सब सही होगा.
I'm an elder sibling, as are you, Ratika, and the elder sibling is always the wise and the right man. So, but I think that what you said is so amazing that in a time like this, where entire humanity has probably gone through the toughest time which it has seen and the entire world.
Entire
So in a
world.
time like that, if you survived, and by playing according to the time, that okay, your plan might have been this. So, for example, like that as a writer, for me, it's a lot about travel and experiencing and all that. But I've just spent this 9 months, like focusing on home and home food, and doing interviews with people like you and bringing your stories alive. My wife has been busy with her work, and we've said both of us that we've not felt helpless or discontent. We
Yeah.
felt gratitude about the fact that we have a roof on our head, we've got food,
Yeah.
we've got many things to be thankful for.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing I feel is that the fact that I have not had to wake up on a given day and wonder what to do today. And
Exactly.
and a lot of that is thanks to people like you and so many others who, when I said that I want to chat with you, you said yes. And even if some people's pre-delivery pani puris reached a bit late, no, they were
Pani
but
puris are like something.
but
Nobody
thank you so much. And I must say that while I'm saying I'm content, this is one thing which I miss about travel, which is like meeting new people, making new friends. But at least in my last trip, I got to meet the two of you, and we have been friends since, and we've been chatting. And
amazing.
it's been so lovely to hear about your story.
You since so long.
Actually, it was like a dream come true when you finally you said, yes, I have time. So it
No,
was
no, no, no. I was just feeling very bad about it because I'd gone for the shoot and I was like the curator and there were all these international chefs and there were times when you had to wake up very early in the morning and go for shoots. So I didn't want to play sort of
fun.
hard to get. But when I saw that there was time, I said we must meet. And it was such a lovely evening.
Lovely, seriously. That was the
So
last time we
Yeah.
really went out much.
I think that was the last no,
15, 20 days.
relaxing outing that we had.
yes. So we'll do that again. We'll meet again and in
For
happier
sure.
times.
For sure.
But thank you, Ratika. Thank you, Richa. Keep smiling, keep winning, keep creating new things, keep being creative, and introduce new things to Jaipur and introduce Jaipur to many, many people. So,
Definitely.
Thank you
So
so
wish
much.
you
much.
all the best.
It was
Absolute
beautiful.
pleasure.
It's always like we
Abs-
learn a lot of things whenever we meet you, whenever we talk to you. Just observing you, we learn a lot.
No, that's very kind of you to say, but I think that both of you and almost everyone whom I've interviewed in Foodocracy for her, like it's been so inspiring. I just sit back and listen and learn, and I keep getting charged up at the end of every interview as I am at the end of this one. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thanks for your time, and wish you a very happy New Year. New Year's coming up as
Same to
well.
you. Same to you.
Thank you.